YouTube channel. My name's Elena, I really like books, and this weekend I'm in Pittsburgh doing a bunch of bookish things, so I thought I would bring you guys along. It's currently Saturday morning, and we have a self-guided bookstore crawl planned. I'm very excited. There are a couple specific titles I'm hoping to pick out just for my own collection, and I'm also hoping to find some books that are set in Pittsburgh or nonfiction books about Pittsburgh history, and just excited to check out some new indie bookstore spots. Last night we got in, we went to dinner and just kind of hung out at the hotel. It was lovely. So now I'm gonna sip my coffee, start getting ready, and we are gonna go out to breakfast before we hit all of our bookstores. So I'm very excited. Wonderful day crawling all across the city of Pittsburgh, looking for different bookshops, eating some delicious food, getting some steps in, taking in the scenery. We drove everywhere. It was amazing. I do plan on eventually showing you all of the books that I purchased, but because it's so many, I think I'm gonna make it a short form video. So
hello, please ignore what I just said. I'm definitely putting a haul at the end of this vlog. Okay, back to Pittsburgh me.
One of the items that I decided to bring upstairs from the car is this journal. I feel like some of my biggest regrets in life is not journaling through very significant periods. Like, I really wish I journaled through most of grad school. I was kind of on and off with it. I really wish I journaled during COVID. So I'm not gonna let future me regret not journaling during this period in my life. So I got a new fresh one to start with. What I love about this one is the pages are humongous. I think it's gonna feel like writing in a composition notebook from childhood. It also has a very inspirational quote on the front. I also bought multiple books today that are either set in Pittsburgh or written by authors who live in or are from Pittsburgh. I pulled out two because I think I want to start one of these tonight. We have The Mysteries of Pittsburgh by Michael Chabon, and we have Weird Black Girls by Elwyn Cotman. So I think I'm going to take a little time, journal, and then I'm going to see which one of these two books I'm going to start thumbing through before we head out to dinner. Wise County biscuits for breakfast, and then we are going to hit the road back to
Okay, hello guys, we are back in Philly. I wanted to give a little recap of my Pittsburgh trip and give you guys a haul of all the books that I purchased. In addition to the 3 indie bookstores and the 1 chain that we went to, 3 non-bookish pit stops were also made that I thoroughly enjoyed and feel they deserve a shout out. The first was to the yarn store. They had all of these gorgeous yarns. I was especially interested in a brand that is woman-owned in Pennsylvania. The owner was super nice, extremely knowledgeable, super accommodating, and had such a plethora of choices of yarn. It was a delightful experience. I'm not a super big crocheter. I have in my past made a blanket, a scarf, so I kind of want to gently dip my toe back into crocheting, and I want to also challenge myself to do something a little different. So I got a little amigurumi kit, and this one is very on brand for me. I got a little tub of popcorn, which is probably my favorite snack of all time. So I'm excited to have this to work on in the coming weeks. You can order from them online, so I'll put their website here. Definitely worth checking out. Our second non-bookish pit stop was to a store that's called, I believe, Unlimited Games. It was so much fun in there. They have every board game under the sun, a bunch of fun card games. They also had an excellent selection of puzzles, so I picked one up because, again, I just feel in need of some hands-on off-screen hobbies, especially now that we're going into the winter months and we're gonna be spending more time inside. So I picked up a 1,000-piece sushi puzzle to work on. They also sold puzzling tables there, but I didn't want to have to try and figure out how to get that home with me. So I ordered myself a puzzling table that should be coming later this week. They also had the most unique set of playing cards I've ever seen, and fun fact about me, I'm known for carrying a deck of cards everywhere. The other item that I picked up is this Return of the King Lord of the Rings card set. Can you see? There we go. The box is gorgeous. I'm really excited to break this open and see what the cards look like. The timing here is perfect because I have friends coming to visit next weekend, so I will definitely be pulling these out for us to use. I'm not even sure what to call our last non-bookish stop of the day. It was basically a nostalgia store. They had old Super Nintendo games, DVDs, records, CDs. They sold every old video game console and the associated games under the sun. They had a bunch of fan collectibles for very famous franchises. I was especially interested in the Sailor Moon pieces that were hanging about the store. I didn't end up buying anything, but it was a super fun trip down memory lane.
We did so many things in Pittsburgh this Saturday. I forgot about a 4th non-bookish stop that we made. We went to the Ibisu Life store, which I think is best described as a Japanese lifestyle store. They have plushies, they have groceries, they have cosmetics, they have housewares. We didn't spend a ton of time in there, but I did pick up quite a few things. We got some ramen, I got some snacks that I really like, a very cute little rice dish. I just wanted to mention it here too because we had so much fun there.
And now moving on to the books. I had such a good time visiting these bookstores. I have to say, out of all of the places I visited in Pittsburgh, I especially loved the Squirrel Hill neighborhood. That's where we stopped at Riverstones, at the game store, at the nostalgia store. We got a delicious ramen lunch. We got some matcha. It was just a beautiful Saturday afternoon. But I will say every bookstore I visited had its own unique charm to it, and I thoroughly enjoyed all of them. There were several bookstores on my list that we didn't get a chance to go into. The first was City Books, which actually was right across the street from where we got breakfast. It just didn't open until later in the afternoon when we were already exploring other neighborhoods, unfortunately. So that's at the top of the list for my next trip. The other bookstore in Squirrel Hill that we didn't get to go to was Amazing Books and Records, which is a used bookstore. That particular location doesn't open until much later in the evening. They do have a second location in a different part of the city, but I didn't make it out there on this trip. But I hear very good things about there, so I would love to go back. On to the stores that we did go to. First up is the White Whale. Like I mentioned, I was on the hunt for books that were either set in Pittsburgh, written by Pittsburgh authors, or about Pittsburgh history. One title came up time and time again when I was searching for these books, and I was very excited to find it in the local authors section in White Whale, Wonder Boys by Michael Chabon. The back of this book describes it as a modern classic about a prolific author and their protege as they try to navigate writer's block and the pursuit of fame in the publishing industry. I also picked up a nonfiction book called Why We Read by Shannon Reed on bookworms, libraries, and just one more page before lights out. This book is described as entertaining, life-affirming, and quite comical about how we enjoy and consume literature and how it shapes us in return. So this felt like a perfect book to pick up while we were in town. Lastly, we got my favorite purchase of the day. If you've watched some of my other content, you might know that me and my friends are doing a loosely structured book club where we work through all of the works of Elena. I finished and enjoyed book 1 in the series, My Brilliant Friend. I own books 2 and 3, still have to read them, but I found this gorgeous collector's edition that I believe is only available in indie bookstores of all 4 books smashed together. She is thick. Obviously quite non-functional for actually reading, but I thought would be so gorgeous to have in my home. I love this quote on the front cover from the early pages of the first book. And look at the gorgeous sunset in Naples as the sprayed edge. It was simply irresistible and such a unique find. I've quite literally never seen this anywhere else. And because one of my friends is obsessed with this series, I also got a second copy to gift to her. After that, we headed over to Riverstones, which is another indie bookstore. As soon as I walked into Riverstones, I was very excited to see that they had a signed copy of one of my most anticipated reads of the year, Salt Crop by Yume Kitase. I was super bummed because the author was just at the store a few days prior, but the signed copy is a pretty cool consolation prize. I've already talked about this book in my short form content, but if you didn't see that, this is a story that takes place in the not so distant future where the oceans swallow up all the lands on Earth. 2 sisters go on a journey for their missing 3rd sister, who was previously researching either a solution to the climate crisis or a driving factor contributing to the climate crisis, something related to what's going on. She goes missing, the other 2 sisters have to find her. They've got this boat that they're sailing the entire planet in. It just sounded like a really interesting twist on a dystopian sort of story. After we finished up all of our adventures in Squirrel Hill, we then made a trip kind of further out in the city to the bookstore I was most excited to visit based on all of the information I saw online, Beyond Bedtime Books. This is a used bookstore unlike any other I've seen. They have an immaculate collection of contemporary fiction, mystery, history, fantasy, YA, kids books. They have everything. It is beautifully organized. They have an insane selection. Everyone who works there is so kind. And I found so many books in pristine condition. Like, all of these paperbacks look brand spanking new. Starting off strong with a recent 5-star read that I really wanted a physical copy of, The Very Secret Society for Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I devoured this book in about 24 hours. It is the perfect contemporary cozy fantasy. It's lighthearted, it's sweet, it's funny, it's got a cast of lovable characters. I love this book, and I'm so happy I own it now. Next up, we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley, your classic contemporary thriller. I have very much enjoyed other works by Lucy Foley, so I'm excited to give this one a shot. The premise of this is that there's a wedding happening on a remote Irish island, and of course, one of the people staying on this island is a murderer. Next up, we have 2 contemporary romances that are very popular, but I haven't checked out yet. First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, which, as you probably know, is a Sleepless in Seattle inspired romance set in Baltimore. I actually did start reading the first few pages of this book because I had it from the library, but then I had to stop because Philly union workers were on strike and I didn't want to be a scab, so I lost my opportunity to read it then, but I have it again now. I also found this gorgeous copy of Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I've never read anything by Cara Bastone, so I'm excited to check out her writing. I also don't think I've read a book before with a pregnancy trope, so this will be me dipping my toe into this subgenre for the first time. The last paperback that I picked up is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I've not read anything by T. Kingfisher, but just based on how everyone describes this writing and these characters and the different worlds that they've created, I think I'm going to enjoy this. And I was especially validated because the cashier said that this is a great one to start with. This is kind of a twist on the modern fantasy fairy tale where our female main character, instead of being married off to a prince, decides that in order to protect her sister, she actually needs to murder the prince. But in order to do so, she needs some help from a witch. So she needs to complete 3 trials spells in order to get what she needs from the witch to complete her goal. So we'll see how this goes. I think this is gonna be a really great one to read in the winter months. The last book I picked up is a book that a friend of mine swears by. She's read it like 15 times. She does a reread every year. Starbringer by Tracy Wolff. This is definitely different as far as the typical fantasy books that I read. It's described as Firefly meets the Breakfast Club. From what I've gathered about the premise of this book is the sun is dying, which is causing intergalactic panic. So on a spaceship is a diverse cast of characters, Breakfast Club adjacent, and for some reason everyone is actively pursuing them and their spaceship. I'm not quite sure why. They must have something that everybody else wants, so I'm excited to dive into this one. After Beyond Bedtime Books, we went to another used bookstore, Blythe Books, which also fully blew me away. The inside of that store is so dang cute. It's set up basically like your friend's cozy living room. They have an awesome selection of books. They have an entire section dedicated to Pittsburgh local authors. The shopkeeper was so sweet. They were also raising funds and collecting goods for a food drive. Just 10 out of 10 vibes. First up, we have a book that was recommended to me by one of the Philly Book and Sip Club members. We have Ace of Spades, which is a YA dark academia secret society sort of story, where students are chosen for this secret society and then they end up getting some weird threatening messages and have to figure out who's behind it. This probably would have been a good one to get my hands on earlier in the fall, but I'm excited to have it now. I also picked up a title I have never heard of before called The Girls and Queens. This is kind of a lit fic, women's fiction about two friends growing up in Queens in the 90s, so nostalgic, who are close throughout their childhood, but as they age, they find themselves on opposite sides of a sexual allegation case. And so it navigates not only the tough parts of the case, but also being on different sides of it. And I thought this sounded like a really compelling read. I also picked up another title by Margaret Atwood that I have never heard of before called The Heart Goes Last. For one of my book clubs this month, we have all been tasked with reading a book by Margaret Atwood. It doesn't have to be Handmaid's Tale, so I was excited to find this because I think it's a different one that most people will not have heard of. I'm also just not in the mood to read Handmaid's Tale right now, so I was happy to find this. It is still kind of a classic dystopian sort of vibe that we're used to from Margaret, but this is a little different. It's about a couple who's down on their luck, they lose their jobs, they end up living in their car, and they think that the solution to all their problems is to join this special gated community. The gag is, though, if you join this community, 6 months out of the year, you have a lavish life. You have a beautiful home, a safe neighborhood, everything is fine. The other 6 months of the year, you have to serve in the prison system. Is that a trade that you would make if you were down on your luck? Comment down below, I'm curious. Me personally, I think I would tough it out in my Honda, but who knows. I also found Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. It seems everyone and their mother read this book this summer, so I'm excited to get on the bandwagon. This is a classic, small town, second chance romance, two people unexpectedly brought together by a tragedy in their late adulthood. I hear good things, so we'll see how it pans out. I was also very excited to find a copy of The Hounding. This is one of those books where people say it's better if you go into it not knowing anything, but I hear it is very strange, and I'm intrigued. Just based on the way that people describe it, it feels like the type of weird book that I would like. I'll give you the plot from the inside of the book so you have a little context without all of it. This haunting debut is about 5 sisters in a small village in 18th century England whose neighbors are convinced they're turning into dogs. I can't wait to just sit down and read this probably in one sitting. I forget the exact deal that they were running in Blythe Books that day. It was either buy 3, get the 4th free, or buy 4, get the 5th free. I don't remember. I bought enough books to get a free book, so my last one that I picked is by a Pittsburgh local author, Oathborn by Anne C. Orlandi. This is the first book in a fae fantasy series. The shopkeeper shared that they had just finished it and said it was very good. It sounds like your classic fae romantasy. Our FMC is a nurse. She spends most of her time healing others, but then someone comes to her and says that her father has been imprisoned by the queen. So she decides she's going to penetrate the queen's court, engage in lots of lies and deception, and ultimately try to save her father. It seems though in this world that oaths aren't just binding, they're deadly. So we'll see how she survives this. We didn't originally plan on going to a 5th bookstore, but by the time we were done with all of our adventures, we still had a little bit of energy left in us and a neighborhood that we had yet to check out. So we headed over to the Strip District, and I was very excited to go to Postman Books. I realize it's a franchise, but they don't have them near near me, and I've never been to one before. People have described it to me as being like a Barnes & Noble, and I think that's true in the sense that it's a franchise that sells new books, but I do think that the vibe of the store itself was quite different from a Barnes & Noble. They had extremely cute bits and bobs, way cuter than the stuff I've ever seen at Barnes. They had Sunny Angels, if you're into that. They had lots of kitchenware, and I picked up a new mug that I'm obsessed with. It's butter. Like, how cute is that? Tell me that's not gonna look amazing in my mug cabinet. You can't. As far as the books go, I think what I was most impressed by at Postman is that they have all of these different covers to classics that I had not seen before. I definitely filmed a few of them when I was in the store, but I decided to take home this copy of The Secret Garden. 1, because it's gorgeous, 2, because I've never seen this cover before, and 3, because I've never read this book. Can you believe that? I feel like it used to be required reading for most people in my geographic area when I was growing up, but I somehow missed it. So excited to have this on my shelf. I also showed you while I was in the hotel in Pittsburgh that I got this copy of Weird Black Girls. I did not end up reading it. That was very ambitious of me. I ended up just having a lazy night, but excited to have this. It's a collection of short stories. I also picked up another Pittsburgh book by Michael Chabon, The Mysteries of Pittsburgh. This will definitely be good for a spooky November night. I picked up the final book that was missing in my Tolkien collection. If you don't already know, I'm collecting the newer versions of the paperbacks with the mountain spines. And Postman Books did have the Silmarillion, which has the blue mountain. So I can officially add this to my shelf and be done with my mountain range. This last book that I picked up at Postman, I was very excited to finally allow myself to purchase. This is a sci-fi book about astronauts. They're about to turn it into a movie, which you know means they're about to change the cover of the books to the movie poster, which generally I despise. So before they ruin it, I picked up a copy of Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is another book that is well loved by the internet. I do feel that based on what everyone describes, I think I'm gonna love it. I hope that I'm right. I just felt a sense of urgency to get it now because my fear is that I'm gonna read it through the library, love it, want a physical copy for myself, and then all that's gonna be in the store is the movie poster copy. So glad to have the OG. And with that, this video comes to a close. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end, leave a pancake emoji in the comments, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.